Good day everyone! In this video, we will discuss 5 uncommon animals under class Cephalopoda.
The first uncommon animal is the chambered nautilus. Its scientific name is Nautilus pompilius and its taxon authority is Linnaeus 1758. An interesting feature about the Nautilus pompilius is that it can reach a maximum length of 20 centimeters. The smooth, thin shell bears a brown and white design and spirals exogastrically or above the animal. As it advances to the outermost chamber of its shell, the animal builds chambers that grow in size. About 30 of these chambers can be found in an adult. A tube known as siphuncle runs down the center of these chambers, releasing gas to keep Nautilus pompilius buoyant and erect. The front of its body is connected to the shell by a strong hood. About 90 suckerless tentacles sprout from behind the hood. A funnel with two independent lobes can be found beneath, and there is no cornea or lens in the eyes. Nautiluses are the only animals with visible shell among all the cephalopods. The shell is not only attractive but also provides protection. The nautilus can retreat into the shell and close it with a hood, a fleshy trapdoor. The shell of nautiluses can grow up to 8 to 10 inches in diameter. When the shell is sliced open, it shows a beautiful nacre lining and an almost flawless equiangular spiral, though not a golden spiral. Moving on to basic ecology, Nautilus is only found in Indo-Pacific, from 30 degrees north to 30 degrees south latitude and 90 degrees east to 175 degrees east longitude. They inhabit slopes of coral reefs and usually inhabits depths of 700 meters. And the species rises at night to breed and lay eggs. Chambered nautiluses are an important part of the coral reef ecosystem. These marine mollusks live in reefs for shelter from predators in the open ocean. They play an important role in their ecosystem as both active predators and scavengers. Dead crustaceans, fish, and other species, including other nautiluses, are primarily scavenged by nautiluses. They do, however, eat hermit crabs and dig for minute pieces of prey in the soft sands of the seafloor. Moving on to the conservation status or threats, overfishing due to commercial harvest to meet demand for the international nautilus shell trade is the species' biggest threat. Chambered nautilus shells, which feature a characteristic coiled interior, are marketed as souvenirs to tourists and shell collectors. Because fishing for nautilus has been shown to have no cultural or historical significance, Nautilus pompilius is most regularly trafficked. Chambered nautilus is particularly vulnerable to overfishing due to their slow growth, late maturity, low reproductive output, and low mobility. Efforts to reduce overuse of the species by regulatory measures appear to be ineffective, which makes it currently endangered.
The next uncommon animal is the flamboyant cuttlefish. Its scientific name is Metasepia fiferi, and its taxon authority is Hall 1885. The flamboyant cuttlefish is a small cephalopod with a dark brown base color. This cuttlefish has overlaying patterns of white and yellow, and its arms are purple-pink. But it can change its color since its skin contains many chromatophores, which are pigment cells that can be manipulated to change colors. Contrary to popular belief, the flamboyant cuttlefish is camouflaged nearly all of the time and is nearly impossible to find. This is because the flamboyant display is common when a diver approaches close enough to photograph, which is why the public may think these species always look so colorful. But they only use the display on certain occasions, for elaborate male courtship rituals, or when males are fighting over a female, or to flash briefly at a threatening object when it approaches too close, presumably to scare it away or to attract prey. It has a very broad oval mantle that is flattened dorsoventrally. The dorsal mantle has three pairs of large flat flop-like papillae which cover its eyes. The head is slightly narrower than the mantle. The mouth is surrounded by 10 appendages. Two of the appendages are tentacles and 8 of them are arms. The arms are broad and blade-like. The flamboyant cuttlefish has a specialized hollow feature called the cuttlebone that helps the animal maintain buoyancy by adjusting the levels of gas and liquid in its chambers. Because its cuttlebone is relatively small, these species can only float and swim for short amounts of time. Instead of swimming, flamboyant cuttlefish walk along the ocean floor using their arms. Their cuttlebones are also venomous. The flamboyant cuttlefish is typically a bottom dweller living from depths of 3 to 86 meters. It prefers living among sandy and muddy substrates in tropical waters. It is found in tropical Indo-Pacific oceans, especially along the coast of northern Australia, Western Australia, and across to the southern edge of New Guinea. These are carnivorous animals. They feed primarily on crustaceans and bony fish. The beak is used to capture prey. The flamboyant cuttlefish is typically preyed upon by seals, dolphins, and fish. As I have mentioned before, when it is threatened, it quickly changes its color through the manipulation of its chromatophores. It creates black, white, and yellow patches on its dark brown skin and turns the tips of its arms bright red. These bright colors are used to warn other creatures of its venomous nature. It will keep this color pattern while having its protective arm membranes until it no longer feels threatened. Cuttlefish in general will secrete ink to disorient a predator and escape. According to the International Union for Conservation of Nature, there is deficient or little to no research into the status of the flamboyant cuttlefish in the wild. Nonetheless, habitat loss, bottom trawling, and siltation, the movement of sands along the seafloor, are threats to the flamboyant cuttlefish's life.
The third animal is the mimic octopus. Its scientific name is Octopus mimicus, and its taxon authority is Norman and Hochberg 2005. The mimic octopus is a small octopus that grows to about 60 cm in length and has protrusions atop its eyes and has brown and white striped coloring. As the name suggests, the mimic octopus mimics or imitates several species of marine animals in appearance and behavior, which divers report that mimic octopuses can impersonate animals from anemones to sea snakes. In addition, being an octopus means a higher level of intelligence compared to other animals because they have a larger brain relative to their body size and are capable of high-order cognitive behavior such as tool use and problem solving. It can also change its coloring to give a more realistic impression of the animal that they are trying to impersonate. For example, when mimicking a lionfish, the octopus spreads its tentacles to simulate poisonous spines. And also when mimicking a banded sea snake, the octopus stalks into a hole and stakes two arms out and reaps them in opposite directions. And it's not only the color or the determining trait that they can imitate, but also its behavior, as they can mimic the movement of a sea snake and even the movement of fins of a flounder to the floating characteristics of a crinoid or feather star. Mimicking deadly or inedible animals results in the predator not being interested in the octopus. However, their mimicry isn't guaranteed that they will be saved because sooner or later, the predators will eventually determine that they aren't the animals they're afraid of, but a mimic octopus. Thus, in most cases, their mimicry only buys their time to run from the predator. Moving on to its basic ecology, firstly are its geographical distribution and habitat. Mimic octopuses are primarily found in Southeast Asia and most are found off the Indonesian island of Sulawesi, wherein their unique mimic ability was first observed. I know, it was a late discovery, isn't it? But this is due to the fact that they were really smart in imitating some animals, and they can be seen on river mouths and estuaries with sand or silt not close to reefs. Hence, because of their open environment, they have evolved the behavior to mimic different types of animals. They are also found less than 15-meter deep. And also, there's a diver named Jonathan Bird who found the cephalopod in Puerto Galera, Philippines, where he observed the unique features of the mimic octopus. And because of its habitat, the mimic octopus shares it with small crustaceans and fish, which then serve as its prey. But in the case of it being the prey, they are prey, but they can shoo away the animals that want to eat them because of their mimicry. And they do this to intimidate or to escape predation from bigger animals like eels, other fishes, and even sea snakes, and these bigger animals they mimic are known to eat octopuses. And lastly, according to the International Union for Conservation of Nature, the mimic octopus is classified as the least concern as of 2016. However, T. mimicus is often traded in the aquarium trade, and high fatalities in the capture of this animal would result in a decrease in population. And although the scale of the population of this species is unknown, the species is still open to the threats of population since they are found in shallow waters that are close to river outflows, which can be a source of pollution.
Another uncommon cephalopod is the vampire squid. Its scientific name is Vampiroteuthis infernalis and its taxon authority is Chan, 1903. This daunting creature is about the shape, size, and color of a football. Though it resembles both, the vampire squid is neither a squid or an octopus. It is a unique animal that has been separated by scientists into its own group. Its dark blood-red outer layer, large eyes, and its cape, displaying large spines that line the underside of its arms, gave its name vampire. Like many of its relatives, the vampire squid has 8 arms and 2 tentacles. Despite the monstrous appearance, this animal floats peacefully in their deep, pitch-black waters, oxygen-deprived habitat. Vampire squid do not ink because it would be an ineffective defense mechanism in dark oceans. Instead, they expel a cloud of bioluminescent sticky mucus that glows for up to 10 minutes, confusing predators and allowing a quick escape. Aside from this, vampire squids produce light at the tips of their arms as a form of communication. These animals are naturally rare. Encounters between males and females do not happen very often. It is important that they reproduce when given the chance, and females are known to store the sperms from males for long periods before using it to fertilize their eggs. Although this unique animal looks intimidating, they're actually quite harmless. It does not suck or drink blood. Moreover, it is not predatory. Vampire squids are detritivores. They are the only known living cephalopod that does not catch and eat live animals for food. These animals are far from dangerous. It depends on drifting particles called marine snow that consist of bits of dead planktonic creatures and fecal pellets. These are captured using its two sticky cells on its long filamentous tentacles. In this way, it feeds on plant and animal matter that sinks from the ocean's surface. The vampire squid are found in tropical to temperate deep seas globally, within latitudes 40 degrees north and 40 degrees south of the equator. They can be seen in nearly completely deep waters of the mesopelagic zone with depths of nearly 9,000 feet. They can survive in the oxygen minimum layer using a highly adapted aerobic metabolism that very few ocean animals possess. Its method of feeding uses very little energy, and it mostly drifts instead of actively swimming. This small cephalopod, found throughout temperate and tropical oceans in extreme deep sea conditions, are not yet considered to be threatened or even slightly dangerous to humans. However, they are vulnerable to ocean warming, decreasing oxygen, pollution, overfishing, industrialization, and dozens of other changes taking place in the deep. Some known predators of vampire squids include deep water fish, whales, and sea lions.
I will be discussing the Roughy umbrella octopus, or Opistoteuthis chathamensis, discovered by O'Shea in 1999, which is rare enough that there aren't many studies on it. As we can see on the image on the right, they are maroon in color. They also have a solid internal shell, which contains the mantle that houses their internal organs. Notable features within the mantle include a bilobed digestive gland. Their maximum total length when they're stretched out is 18 centimeters, and the length of its mantle is around 5.4 centimeters, so they're quite small. Its main features include its two fins encircled here. The fins propel the Roughy umbrella octopus through the water by flapping. They also have arms lined with a single row of 41 to 55 suckers of varying sizes, which are the tiny circles you can see here. These suckers are of a light cream color. On each sucker is a pair of cirri, which are the small, thin, string-like projections you can see at the bottom of this drawing of a generic Opistoteuthis species. Cirri may aid in moving prey towards the sucker by pushing around the water. The Roughy umbrella octopus was first found along the east coast of New Zealand's North Island, with Wairarapas Coast as a point of reference, which is labeled here. The lines mark the latitudes at which they were found. So O'Shea said they were found between 39 degrees 50 minutes south and 41 degrees 10 minutes south. They are also found on Chatham Rise, which is also labeled here, the area of the ocean floor near the Chatham Islands. They are rarely found anywhere else, but when they are found elsewhere, it's still near New Zealand. Their habitat is soft sediments in the benthic zone of the ocean. They were found in relatively shallow waters of about 900 to 1,438 meters deep. They mainly feed on tiny creatures that don't swim quickly, such as marine worms and crustaceans, while their predators are typically larger animals in the ocean, like sharks and teleost fishes. As of August 20, 2014, Opistoteuthis chathamensis was evaluated by Lyons and Alcock to be critically endangered and even possibly extinct, based on the International Union for Conservation of Nature's criteria. Lyons and Alcock found there was at least an 80% decrease in population size over 3 generations of O. chathamensis, where every generation lives for about 5 years. This decrease in population may be due to overfishing in deep water fisheries, evidenced by how it was often caught by accident in the orange Roughy fishery, but has not been seen there since 2000. Other factors that make it susceptible to being overfished are its typical habitat, which is relatively shallow in the sediment of the sea. Its location makes it easy for nets known as deep trawling nets that catch fish by scratching through the solid surface of the ocean, including the shallow area of the benthic zone to catch. As the species also appears to grow up slowly with a relatively long life cycle, It is easily affected by fishing activities.